The rain hammered against the windows of my small apartment in Seattle, each drop a painful echo of the storm raging inside me. My name is Thuron, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all: a fulfilling job as a software architect, a cozy home, and a wife, Isolde, whom I loved more than life itself. I'm 44 years old. We had been married for 15 years, a decade and a half of what I believed was unwavering happiness. We met at a tech conference in San Francisco. I was immediately drawn to her sharp wit, her infectious laugh, and her unparalleled beauty. She was a graphic designer then, full of creative energy and ambition. Over the years, our lives intertwined, our dreams aligned, and we built a world together that felt impenetrable. Or so I thought. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Isolde began working longer hours at her new job as a creative director at a marketing firm downtown. I didn't think much of it initially. I understood the demands of her profession. But then came the late-night meetings, the weekend conferences, the hushed phone calls taken in the other room. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself that I was being paranoid, that my insecurities were getting the best of me. But the knot in my stomach grew tighter with each passing day. One evening, Isolde told me she had to attend a last-minute business trip to Portland. "It's crucial, Thuron," she said, her eyes avoiding mine. "I have to be there, a major client presentation." I kissed her goodbye, a hollow ache in my chest as I watched her drive away. That night sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned, haunted by a gnawing sense of unease. Finally, around 3 a.m., I decided to get up and distract myself. I went to her study, intending to catch up on some reading. Her laptop was on the desk, still open. I knew I shouldn't, but I couldn't resist. I told myself I was just checking the weather forecast for her, making sure she wouldn't need an umbrella. But my fingers hovered over the mouse, drawn to the email icon. One click and I was in. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrolled through her inbox. Most of the emails were work-related, mundane updates and project reports. But then a name caught my eye: Eamon. The subject line read, "Thinking of you." My hands trembled as I clicked on the email. What I read next shattered my world into a million pieces. It was a love letter, filled with intimate details and passionate declarations. Eamon wrote about their stolen moments, their secret rendezvous, their burning desire for each other. He wrote about how Isolde was the best thing that had ever happened to him, how he couldn't imagine his life without her. Each word was a dagger twisting in my heart. I felt like I was going to be sick. I scrolled through more emails, each one a further confirmation of my worst fears. Isolde and Eamon were deeply in love, embroiled in a torrid affair that had been going on for months. I learned that Eamon was a consultant working with Isolde's company, a smooth-talking, charismatic man who had clearly swept her off her feet. The business trip to Portland, a lie. They were spending the weekend together in a secluded cabin in the woods. The room spun around me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. The woman I had loved, the woman I had shared my life with, had betrayed me in the most profound way imaginable. The pain was unbearable, a crushing weight that threatened to suffocate me. I stumbled out of the study, gasping for air. I needed to get out to escape the suffocating reality of what I had just discovered. I drove aimlessly through the city, the rain blurring the streetlights into hazy streaks. I ended up at the Puget Sound, the dark water mirroring the turmoil within me. I sat there for hours, watching the waves crash against the shore, the wind whipping through my hair. I felt numb, detached from reality. How could this have happened? How could Isolde have done this to me? Had our marriage been a lie all along? I replayed our years together in my mind, searching for clues, for signs that I had missed. But all I saw were happy memories, shared laughter, and tender moments. It made the betrayal even more incomprehensible. When the first rays of dawn peeked through the clouds, I knew I couldn't stay there any longer. I had to confront Isolde. I drove back to our apartment, my mind racing with a mix of anger, hurt, and disbelief. I waited for her to return, pacing the floor like a caged animal. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind sent a jolt of anxiety through me. Finally, around noon, I heard the familiar sound of her car pulling into the driveway. My heart pounded in my chest as I braced myself for the confrontation. She walked through the door, her face flushed, her eyes sparkling with what I now recognized as guilt. Thuron, you're home, she said, her voice a little too cheerful. I thought you'd be at work. I know about Eamon Isolde, I said, my voice trembling with barely suppressed rage. Her face paled. What are you talking about? She stammered. Don't play dumb with me, I said, my voice rising. I read your emails. I know about your affair. I know about the weekend in Portland. She burst into tears. Thuron, I can explain, she sobbed. Explain what Isolde, I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. Explain how you betrayed me, explain how you lied to me, explain how you destroyed our marriage. She sank to her knees, her body shaking with sobs. I'm so sorry, Thuron, she cried. I never meant for this to happen, it just happened. It just happened, I repeated, incredulous. You just fell into bed with another man. You just decided to throw away 15 years of our life together. She didn't answer. She just kept crying. I couldn't bear to look at her any longer. The sight of her tears, her remorse, only fueled my anger. Get out, Isolde, I said, my voice cold and hard. Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Thuron, please, she begged. Don't do this. We can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, Isolde, I said. You broke it. You shattered it. And I can never forgive you. She left that day, taking a suitcase full of clothes and a lifetime of memories with her. The apartment felt empty, hollowed out. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional sob that escaped my lips. I spent the next few weeks in a haze of grief and anger. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't focus on anything. My work suffered, my friends worried, and my life spiraled out of control. I considered confronting Eamon, but I knew that wouldn't solve anything. He was just a symptom of a deeper problem. The problem was Isolde, and her betrayal had left a wound that might never heal. One day, a package arrived at my door. It was a small, unassuming box with no return address. I opened it cautiously, half expecting it to be some sort of cruel joke. Inside, I found a USB drive and a letter. The letter was from a woman named Gwyneth. She claimed to be Eamon's wife. She wrote that she had suspected for some time that Eamon was having an affair, and she had hired a private investigator to gather evidence. The USB drive contained photos, emails, and text messages documenting Isolde and Eamon's relationship in excruciating detail. Gwyneth explained that she was sharing this information with me because she believed I deserved to know the truth. She also revealed that Eamon had a history of infidelity, that he had cheated on her multiple times throughout their marriage. He was a serial cheater, a master manipulator who preyed on vulnerable women. As I scrolled through the evidence, I felt a surge of anger, not just at Isolde, but at Eamon as well. He had not only destroyed my marriage, but had also caused immense pain to his own wife. Gwyneth's letter ended with an invitation to meet. She suggested that we could support each other through this difficult time. I hesitated at first, unsure if I was ready to face another victim of Eamon's deceit. But curiosity and a desire for closure eventually won out. We met at a small coffee shop in downtown Seattle. Gwyneth was a beautiful woman with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She was clearly heartbroken, but she also possessed a quiet strength that I admired. We spent hours talking, sharing our stories and comforting each other. We discovered that we had a lot in common, not just the shared experience of being betrayed, but also similar values, interests, and dreams. Over the next few months, Gwyneth and I became close friends. We leaned on each other for support, offering each other a shoulder to cry on and an ear to listen. We helped each other navigate the complex emotions of grief, anger, and resentment. And slowly, gradually, we began to heal. One evening, as we were sitting on my balcony, watching the sunset over the Puget Sound, Gwyneth turned to me and said, "Thuron, I know this might sound crazy, but I think we're falling in love." I looked into her eyes and saw a reflection of my own feelings. "I think I'm falling in love with you too, Gwyneth," I said. Our relationship blossomed, nurtured by mutual understanding, respect, and a shared desire for happiness. We found solace in each other's arms, a safe haven from the pain and chaos of our pasts. Meanwhile, Isolde's life began to unravel. Eamon, it turned out, was not the Prince Charming she had imagined. He was a user, a manipulator, and a liar. He had promised her the world, but all he delivered was heartache and disappointment. When Gwyneth confronted Eamon with the evidence of his affair, he denied everything, gaslighting her and trying to make her feel like she was crazy. But Gwyneth stood her ground, refusing to be manipulated any longer. She filed for divorce and exposed Eamon's infidelity to his colleagues and clients. His career imploded, his reputation shattered. Isolde, realizing that Eamon was not going to leave his wife for her, was left with nothing. She lost her job, her friends, and her self-respect. She tried to reach out to me, begging me to take her back, but I refused. I had forgiven her, but I could never forget what she had done. I told her that I wished her well, but that I had moved on. I had found happiness with Gwyneth, and I was not willing to jeopardize that for anything. Isolde eventually moved away, seeking a fresh start in a new city. I heard through mutual friends that she was struggling, that she was lonely and unhappy, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for her. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. Gwyneth and I built a beautiful life together. We bought a small house on Bainbridge Island, overlooking the water. We adopted a rescue dog, a scruffy terrier mix we named Lucky. We traveled the world, exploring new cultures and creating lasting memories. And every day I was grateful for the second chance I had been given. Looking back, I realized that Isolde's betrayal, while devastating at the time, was ultimately a catalyst for change in my life. It forced me to confront my own insecurities, to reevaluate my priorities, and to open my heart to new possibilities. It led me to Gwyneth, a woman who loved me for who I was, a woman who understood my pain, and a woman who helped me heal. And for that I will always be grateful. Life is unpredictable, full of unexpected twists and turns. Sometimes the greatest tragedies can lead to the greatest blessings. And sometimes the people who hurt us the most can inadvertently set us on the path to a brighter, happier future. I hope this story resonates with you, reminding you of the strength within yourself to overcome adversity and find love again, even after the deepest betrayal. Remember, the end of one chapter can be the beginning of an even more beautiful one.